So I'm going to bookend this interview with some positivity, because that line, it was like he took my voice that day just when I was about to start finding it, just has crushed me every single time I watch this movie. So in an effort to highlight some of the good out there that we need more of, can each of you tell me about someone that you encountered early on in your careers who made you feel supported and respected and helped you take a positive first step forward when you were first starting out?
Well, on my first film, well, I don't know. I had never done a film before, and I didn't know anything about filming. And I didn't know what a mark was. I didn't know how to match my actions. I didn't know what a close up was. And, this was on Glory, and Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman really put their arms around my shoulders and led me through the process of how to work with the camera, how to understand how to bring out my performance, how to modulate it, for the camera. And I'm forever grateful for that. I mean, our careers have gone in a million different directions, and I haven't worked with either one of them since 1989. But they were part of the foundation of my career in film and television, and so I'm very grateful to them today for what they did in 1989.
I had the similar, oddly, I was shot the very first movie I ever did was The Untouchables with, De Palma directing De Niro, Kevin Costner. But, De Palma was remarkable to me. I'd never been on film. He taught me all about film. He was so loving to me and wonderful. And I was broke. And he convinced Paramount that Mrs. Ness had to be all through the courtroom, even though there was one quick close-up of me. That was it. But I got paid for an extra month, and it saved me. It saved me. And so he was such a mentor. He was my first big film encounter. And I know Brian De Palma, kind of a bad boy and crazy guy in Hollywood, but he was incredible to me. And I'm always thankful for how he really stood up for Mrs. Ness.
I love it. All right. So to get into some specifics here, Patricia, I was reading that you chose not to meet the real Rebecca before filming so that you could more organically invent the character. But I was wondering, how did you come to the conclusion that that was the best path for you and ultimately the best thing for the movie?
Well, I came to that conclusion because once I met Rebecca, I realized, oh, I'm so glad, because she is formidable. She is this towering figure for me. And one of the highlights of my career and life to play this valiant, fiercely intelligent woman. I really did have to call on my better angels. And I didn't want to mimic her or try to become her or play her. I wanted to just bring the best of myself to this woman. For 1 month, I just had to be the best Patty could be.
I was reading that in the production notes. There's a quote from you that says, I really did have to call on the best parts of myself to capture her.
Yes.
So is there anything specific our viewers can look out for, that's not only Rebecca, but that's you too?
Well, I mean, it's me occasionally. It's Rebecca always. No, just her intuition, her calm, her fierceness, her unwillingness to compromise. But she's steady. She stayed the course, and I'm a much more emotional and frantic person. And her fierce intelligence and her gift for words, her beautiful gift for words, and to knowing, when the words are right and when they're not. It's a remarkable gift.
Yeah, anyone who can do that, I definitely deeply admire them. Andre, I'll throw that same question to you. Did you have the opportunity to meet the real Dean? And if so, why did you choose to do that versus waiting until after filming?
I waited until after filming because I began to realize very on in the examination of the script that this was not the comprehensive total Dean. Dean has so many more complicated, interesting aspects to his character. The Dean that this film demands is the Dean who's the leader, the protector, the mentor, and the guide. And so every scene is about protecting his reporters from Harvey, protecting the investigation, protecting their integrity, their spirits, how necessary that is. So the one aspect that I emphasized throughout the entire film was the encouragement, the wisdom, the love and protection that Dean is offering to his reporters and the people around him. Now, that's not the whole Dean, so he might consider this to be a really soft kind of performance, but I think that's what the script demanded.
You very successfully accomplished that. Every single time you appear in a doorway, I just am put at ease for everyone in this movie. So obviously this is a very large ensemble, and you just said it's not the full Dean. Maybe we don't get every single ounce of Rebecca. So are there any small details that you determined were important to you that maybe aren't at the center of a frame, maybe aren't conveyed via dialogue, but they were important to you and we could at least feel them informing your performances?
Well, I think it comes back to that calm and that quiet and that, the kind of all-knowingness that, if you can just sometimes, if, in the middle of a scene, and there are many other people, if you cut to Rebecca, trust me, she's far ahead of everybody else in that room. She's the woman with the most experience sometimes in that room. She's the woman who really has seen a lot and knows a lot. And just that's what I'm hoping is in my eyes, even for a brief moment in those scenes. She knows what the hell's happening.
Can confirm.
Not going to mess with you, Patty.
No, don't. Especially when I'm Rebecca.
How about for you, Andre? Anything in particular that isn't necessarily addressed specifically in the movie, but you were kind of carrying with you?
I have to say, that has eluded me. I wasn't carrying any particular aspect of it. I have to say I failed on that note.
All right.
My apologies.
Fail on the question, succeed big time in the movie. I'll take it. All right. I promised my positive bookend here to close this out. So obviously there's still a whole bunch about this industry that needs to change, but a lot of good has happened over the years. So in an effort to highlight a little of that, what is something that is now an industry norm that if you could go back and tell your younger self, one day that's going to be a given and it would make you really happy, what would you choose?
I would choose the fact that, what we tolerated in the 80s, 90s, 2000s is no longer tolerable. That silence is not golden, you are complicit. That this business really, we have safety in numbers now. There are now more women in front of the camera, behind the camera, in very big positions of power. And we have risen. We will rise. If I had known many, many, many years ago that I would sometimes now be the powerful person in a room, I'd be, it's so exciting to sometimes be the person who has the biggest voice in a room. And it's remarkable.
I'd have to say, for me, the respect in the workplace, because I didn't have to put up with the kind of sexual harassment that women have for decades, I think the biggest change for me over these 40 years, and this is a part of respect in the workplace, empowerment in the workplace, is respect in the storytelling. So throughout my career, this is a long tale, but throughout my career, stories about Black men have been monstrously negative, and it's been hard to find roles that were personally empowering and humane. And what I find today is 40 years later, is that the stories are commonplace in their understanding of all our common humanity, whereas that wasn't true in the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I didn't work as frequently as I wanted to throughout all of these 4 decades of my career is because the storytelling has been so anti-human when it comes to stories for Black men. And that's radically changing today. My son, who's an actor, has a different perspective, a different opportunities as a Black man in this business. And to me, that's a marvelous achievement because it's a marvelous achievement, period. It's important. And so I'm glad to do my part to push this story forward, to add my small talents to this large film, to make sure that people understand this message about respect in the workplace, about confronting abusers, and about empowerment.
I've kept you both too long, but I will say goodbye. Thank you. And huge congratulations on this film. Played exceptionally well at AFI Fest. Really, really something else in that crowd.